Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy and this is Yoga with Jerm. Today we've got a short instructional video that's all about crow pose. We'll really go into the details about how to practice this pose and what we need in order to achieve this pose. And the reason we're doing this is because tomorrow's video, which I'm going to upload, is a flow that is going up to crow pose and it will include crow pose in it as well. So stick around and let's get started. Crow pose, also known as Kakasana, is one of the first few arm balances that is attempted in yoga. It's also quite a challenging arm balance, requiring lots of strength in the shoulders, the arms, and strength in the core, as well as a sense of balance. So the first thing we're going to talk about in crow pose is the position in the hands. We want to keep the fingers comfortably spread apart, so they shouldn't be too narrow, nor should they be too wide. As far as weight distribution is concerned, we want to ensure that the weight is distributed evenly through all four corners of the palms. That means the base of the pinky finger, the base of the index finger, as well as the base of the palm where the palm connects to the wrist. So those are two corners as well. What's important is that we ensure that the weight is not only in the base of the palm and certainly not only in the outside edge of the base of the palm. This is typically quite a common way to obtain an injury from overpractice as well. So once we ensure that the weight is evenly distributed through all four corners of the palms, ensuring also that the fingers are pressed into the mat, the finger pads. And as we press the fingers into the mat, you may notice that sometimes the fingers can even spider, and this can really help to distribute the weight as well. So to enter into crow pose, we begin in Malasana. A simple squat, garland pose, with the hands to heart center and the elbows pressing into the insides of the thighs. And from here, we're going to plant the hands down onto the mat, lift the hips up high, even coming up onto tiptoes. And the reason we come up onto tiptoes and lift the hips is so that we can get the knees high up into the triceps. Typically, beginning from just the Malasana, the knees aren't quite high enough to get into crow pose. So if this is the first few times that you're attempting the pose and you're afraid that you're going to fall forward, you can go ahead and grab a block and place it just in front where your head is going to be, so that if you fall, at least you won't fall all the way down flat onto the mat. Other option is to grab a cushion or a large pillow and just place it in front as well. And that should help a little bit with the psychology of it. From here, especially if it's the first few times you're doing, feel free to take the option of wrapping the knees outside of the triceps. This can make it just a little bit more manageable. From here, start to lean forward, and this really is the important part in crow pose, is that it's not about lifting the toes off, but more about getting the weight forward. As we lean forward more and more, finding this sense of balance, making sure we press into the palms, start to lift one toe off at a time, and maybe even both toes can lift off. Good. And once you've mastered the version where you're wrapping the knees outside of the triceps, you can start to work on the next variation, which is to drive the knees into the triceps. Beginning from exactly the same position in Malasana, then planting the hands down, lifting the hips up high, knees start to drive into the triceps. Same thing from here is to lean forward, maybe lifting one toe off at a time, or both feet can lift off as well. Making sure to hold it for a few breaths. And releasing. Another word here is on engagement in the core. We want to find a strong engagement in the core, almost a feeling of sucking the belly in, and even rounding the spine. So imagine pressing strongly through the hands so that the spine is slightly rounded, the shoulders are protracted. Notice here as I come into a crow pose, if I allow my belly to relax, the whole body starts to relax and release, and it becomes a little bit harder to hold the pose. Whereas if I find the engagement of the belly and suck the belly in, press strongly into the palms, I find that lift and it becomes a little bit easier to hold the crow pose. And that's it for crow pose. Thank you very much for watching the video. Don't forget to join us tomorrow as we flow into Crow. See ya!